Here in JMC, education has never been this flexible. It's been a year since the pandemic started, and we are proud to say that JMC breaks the limits of the pandemic climate and soars above its dark clouds. Indeed, no virus can stop us in delivering an assured, consistent, and quality education. This school year, to ensure that all learners will get the best learning experience, Jose Maria College Integrated Basic Education has intensified its two learning delivery options. We do believe that here in JMC, no child should be left behind.
Here are the two delivery options of Jose Maria College Integrated Basic Education. Option 1, online delivery. Students who have a stable connection to the internet shall undergo full online classes with our competent teachers on a daily basis. Online video conferencing between students and professors will be limited to 2 hours per subject each week. These online sessions will mostly be utilized for learning processing and delivering supplementary training. This is done to reduce the amount of screen time students spend while completing academics at home. Moreover, students shall also have self-regulated learning time or SLT to work independently on their learning modules. Teachers shall act as online learning coaches, guiding students' learning process. Option 2, self-paced learning. For students who see it as a challenge to secure a stable connection to the internet, teachers shall be providing modules and other instructional course packages where students can easily download on their LMS or learning management system. Students will work on these learning materials and from time to time may need to send their academic work online or discuss their progress with their teachers via email, chat, or video call on a scheduled time. They may attend online classes when their internet connection is stable enough for them to do so. Homeschool Partnership Program. Parents play a vital role in the success of online education. For students in preschool to grade 3, supervision of parents or guardians will be needed. Students should be more engaged in learning experiences. Parents and guardians shall never be a substitute for class and test hours. For students in grades 4 to 12, teachers shall consistently monitor the learner's progress and shall provide assistance at all times during the school day. Education goes on for the Jose Maria College. Your future is our mission. Enroll now!
Indeed, Jose Maria College has never been this flexible. So what are you waiting for? Enroll now!
Good day, everyone! Welcome to another episode of JMC EduTrends, a discussion that informs, inspires, and transcends. To all our first-time viewers, this program streams live on www.facebook.com/Jose Maria College and on YouTube at JMC EduTrends. Don't forget to type in your comments and questions, send your emojis, click the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell so you would be notified of future discussions on JMC EduTrends. Without much delay, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome the program host of today's discussion.
Ladies and gentlemen, folks and friends, welcome to another episode of JMC EduTrends, a discussion that informs, inspires, and transcends. I am your host, Lord Vincent Von Mendoza, the head of training and development of this great academy, Jose Maria College, and I'll be with you in this another special episode of the show. This is being broadcast via official YouTube and Facebook channels of Jose Maria College and, of course, of Jose Maria College, College of Law Facebook page. This episode, so entitled Governance of the Youth Sector, will give details on youth development in which young people like you can gain skills and knowledge necessary to lead civic engagement, education reform, and community organizing activities. That being said, we have invited a very esteemed youth servant leader who will later be introduced in our show. Meanwhile, I just want to know if you guys are all excited and ready sa ating discussion for today. Alright, magkakaroon muna tayo ng quick shoutout to all of our viewers joining us live via Facebook and YouTube. Yan, mabilisan lang ano. We have, yeah, Dr. Libre is joining us. Congratulations sa Jose Maria College. Yan, shoutout po kay Dr. Libre. Thank you so much for joining us, Doc. Also joining us is, sino pa ba yung andito sa ating room? We have, pwede ba nating maano? Alright, okay, eto. We have Charivin. Ed 2. Also joining us is Limen Young, yung taga Korea. We have Jinray Madriquez. Thank you so much for being in the show. Barahasa, Milka, and then Rexiver. Ayan. Shout out din kay Micaela and Jessamy. And who else is joining us? We also have Princess. Yeah, nakaabang. Also joining us is Donna Bell Pascual. Good morning, sir. Yep, good morning. And to the rest of our EduTrends family, grabe ang dami ano, both sa Facebook at saka sa YouTube. There you go. Also joining us is Ma'am Mirna. Ayan, shout out po kay Ma'am Mirna at saka Jericho Galot. Ayan. Grabe ang daming nakaabang ngayon. We have so far we have 52 viewers joining us on our live stream. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, also pala later in the show, we will also be joined by our student reactors from Jose Maria College, College of Law, who will share their insights on this very timely discussion. All right, I believe you guys are so ready at saka pumped up na talaga no, for our discussion. Without further ado, let me do the honor of introducing our guest resource speaker. Ayan, she was a junior law student when she was appointed as the representative of the law student sector in the Legal Education Board, or LEB, on June 26, 2018. She is a consistent honors student. She was awarded first honorable mention in primary school, salutatorian in high school, and graduated with flying colors, of course, as cum laude with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and Accountancy degree from the University of the Philippines back in 208 or 2008. She finished her Juris Doctor degree in June 2019 from the UP College of Law as a member of the Order of Purple Feather, the Law Honor Society in that university. While she was the youngest among the LEB commissioners, she comes with her own professional credentials. To name a few, she is a certified public accountant, or CPA, by profession, and a former accounting controller of Double A Paper Company Limited and chief operating officer of Multiforms Corporation prior to her appointment to the Legal Education Board. And she also gained valuable experiences as a law student by interning at the Philippine Senate and the office of Senator Juan Edgardo M. Angara, and later working as a research assistant in the Institute of Government and Law Reform of the University of the Philippines Law Center. She graduated and ranked 6th from the UP College of Law graduation in 2019 and passed the 2019 bar examinations thereafter. She is a member of the uh, Porsche sorority of the Philippine Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Integrated Bar of the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, folks and friends at the Trends family, please help me welcome our resource speaker for today, Commissioner Catherine Pedrosa. There we have it. Palakpakan naman natin siya. A virtual round of applause po to our guest speaker for today. And good morning po, Commissioner. How does it feel that, at long last, ito na talaga, after so many postponements?
Well, Vince, well, first, maayong buntag to you, maayong buntag to the
Wow.
JMC students, and everyone watching your show, good morning. And of course, thank you for inviting the Legal Education Board and, for giving us an opportunity to introduce our agency and our programs to your viewers. So I'm just glad na natuloy na din tayo.
There have it. You seem to be very ready, Commissioner, no, from the background and the suit. And the earlier we had some chit chats in the background, but yes, here's your time. Please take the virtual floor, and yeah.
All right. Can you share the presentation, please? Okay. Okay, let's start. Lex excellentia virtus, law excellence valor. Good morning once again. I am Attorney Kathy Pedrosa, a regular board member of the Legal Education Board representing the law student sector. Next slide, please. Okay, in today's session of EduTrends, I will present to you our agency, the Legal Education Board, our programs and program updates, including our pandemic response programs, and finally, our programs for the youth. Next slide, please. Okay, what is the Legal Education Board, or the LEB, or the LEB? The LEB is a government agency established by Congress, by our honorable congressmen and senators, through Republic Act 7662, otherwise known as the Legal Education Reform Act of 1993. The board was mandated by RA 7662 to uplift the standards of legal education in the country in order to prepare law students for advocacy, counseling, problem solving, and decision making. Next slide, please. So the board is composed of 7 members, including the chairperson. In order to achieve the objectives of legal education, you can see here that the composition of the board is well represented by various stakeholders. There's a representative from the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, the Philippine Association of Law Schools, law professors, private practitioners, law students, and the CHED chairperson. Next slide, please. Okay, so our charter, RA 7662, granted the board the power and function to administer the legal education system, meaning legal education was carved out from CHED's supervision and was granted to the LEB. The LEB has the power to set the standards of accreditation for law schools, meaning the LEB grants law schools the license or permit to open and operate a law school. And then the LEB also prescribes minimum standards for law admission, which is the PhilSat, and also prescribes the basic curricula for the course of study, which is the Juris Doctor. And it also performs other functions. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Guided by our mandate, we have established policies and implemented programs in legal education. Next slide, please. Okay, in administering the legal education system, we have issued 2 main implementing rules and regulations, LEB Memorandum Orders number 1 and 2. These LEBMOs set out our policies and rules relating to prerequisites to law admission, accreditation and revocation of permits of law schools, curriculum, faculty qualifications, and ethical standards of conduct of law professors. Next slide, please. Okay, to monitor the quality of legal education, we post and acknowledge on our website and Facebook page the top performing law schools in the bar examinations. Next slide, please. Okay, as I mentioned, the LEB has the power to grant and revoke licenses of law schools. You can see here our physical school inspections to verify their competency and quality of legal education that they provide. But now, in this time of pandemic, we shifted our law school inspections to an online platform. We conduct virtual inspections in lieu of physical inspections. Next slide, please. Curriculum Development Program. Okay, allow me to spend more time discussing this topic because actually the board just approved this June 2021 a revised and improved law model curriculum to be implemented actually in the next academic year, AY 2022-2023, but the law schools have the discretion to implement this in AY in this school year, AY 21-22. Anyway, stepping back, the board has issued 3 memorandum orders or circular relative to the basic law curriculum. The first model law curriculum developed by the LEB was implemented in 2011. The Juris Doctor non-thesis program had 153 units, while the thesis has 168 minimum number of units. And then last year, at the onset of the pandemic, we acknowledged that this heavy workload would add to the burden brought about by the pandemic. And so before the start of AY 2020-2021, we issued an optional interim curriculum which reduced the number of units to 135. Of course, again, to lessen the burden of the law schools and the law students, and in a way to help them financially as well, because the lower the number of units, the lower the tuition. And then this year, June 2021, the board, upon the recommendation of the revised curriculum committee, approved the new model law curriculum. So the reforms to the new curriculum revolved around the following. 1, reducing the number of units to 135 units to give students more time for reflective thinking. 2, updating the curriculum design, which now allows tracking or specialization, such as, if you want the labor track or the corporate track or the tax track or litigation. And anyway, I was informed that the audience of these EduTrends are college students who might want to pursue law. So I think this reform might be one of your major considerations, no, siguro, in selecting a law school, one which would offer the specialization that you'd want to pursue. Okay. Number 3, infusing modern and progressive teaching methods and pedagogies. So, diba, the Socratic method in law school is infamous. Madaming natatakot mag-law school dahil dito. But in the revised curriculum, we've set out other teaching methods for law schools to adopt, such as yung clinical method or experiential learning method, yung interactive method, research method, etc. Para hindi naman laging stressed ang law students. And the board actually is really concerned about the mental health and well-being of the law students. So we encourage law schools to adopt these progressive teaching methods and pedagogies. And then lastly, number 4, ensuring law graduates are practice ready through the Clinical Legal Education Program, or the CLEP. I will discuss the CLEP in detail later. Next slide, please. Next slide again. Okay, the PhilSat. Aspiring law students should take the PhilSat as a requirement for law school admission. But because of the pandemic, we suspended the PhilSat last year. Under LEB MC number 57, in place of the PhilSat, law schools would require their own substitute admission exams. However, if the conduct of the substitute exam would prove difficult, law schools may waive this exam requirement and implement instead a retention policy for its first years. Next slide, please. Okay, National Comprehensive Plan. Actually, I've discussed some of our pandemic response programs earlier, no? But let me just present the LEB's overarching National Comprehensive Plan for Legal Education in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide, please. Okay. The lab crafted this comprehensive plan beginning 2020, and through this plan, the agency decided to develop programs that support the legal education sector, not only in responding to, but also in recovering from the pandemic. And as you can see here in the diagram, we shifted to virtual platforms, and then we conduct virtual inspections, and all applications now may be filed online. We also did some policy easing, like the interim curriculum and the PhilSat suspension. And most importantly, we coordinated and partnered with our stakeholders for our pandemic response programs, which you can see in the next slides. Next slide, please. Okay, Lab MC number 56. This is actually Lab's main guidelines for law schools in this time of pandemic. Here we emphasize the inherent right to life, health, and integrity of the human person, which should, take precedence over academic goals. Law schools are encouraged to adopt innovative ways of teaching and delivery of instruction. And in this Lab MC, actually, we allowed the shift of the academic calendar, from either June to August or September. And then we also allowed the pass or no-fail policy, and also the suspension of prerequisites. Next slide, please. Online learning, law faculty training. This was conducted in July 2020, last year, before the start of the academic year 2020 to 2021, in partnership with the Philippine Association of Law Schools. So we conducted this timely program, which is a series of online learning training for our law faculty to assist the law school and the faculty in transitioning to remote and online learning. In this seminar, we introduced the use of online learning management systems, some technologies for the conduct of examinations, and methods of teaching like yung asynchronous and asynchronous method. Next slide, please. Okay, online learning survival guide. Yeah, the law students also had an online learning survival guide webinar last year. As law schools kasi moved to online platforms, the lab also recognized the need to prepare the law students to new ways of learning online through use of learning management systems and other online learning techniques and technologies. More importantly, we were mindful that learning law in a new environment has brought, immense mental distress to law students. So we conducted mental health wellness training in partnership with the Association of Law Students of the Philippines to impart to the law students the best practices on student wellness. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, there were also trainings for faculty members in partnership with the Philippine Competition Commission. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, policy development programs. The prior slide muna. Yan, the Legal Education Advancement Program, or the LEAP. So basically, LEB actually is a policy-making body. And just this June 2021, we sealed a partnership with the UP Law Center for the Legal Education Advancement Program, or the LEAP. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. The LEAP it's a huge program wherein we expect that legal education would take a leap as the program aims to support LEB's fulfillment to uplift the standards of legal education. Even though it's pandemic, hindi magpapapigil ang legal education. Exciting times actually for the legal education with the LEAP program. Next slide, please. So what is the LEAP program? The LEAP program includes several projects such as yung model law curriculum revision. Diba, earlier I discussed yung bagong law curriculum. So through here, this would involve yung rollout na of capacity building trainings for the revised model law curriculum. Another project is the Legal Education Policy Reform Project, or this is the review of existing and development of new policies for possible adoption of the LEB. Another project is the Legal Education Knowledge Project. This deals with the production of researches and knowledge generation. Another is the Legal Education Access Project. This involves developing trainings and workshops to meet needs of legal education, and the stakeholder conferences for fostering democratic spaces and participation through continuous dialogue with our stakeholders. And then lastly, the Digital Adaptation of Legal Education Project, which is an exploration of digital adaptation initiatives for the legal education sector. Next slide, please. Ayan, Clinical Legal Education Program. This is another impactful program in coordination and or in partnership with the Supreme Court of the Philippines, the Asia Foundation, and the US government. So the CLEP program supports the implementation of the revised Rule 138 or the Law Student Practice Rule. To date, there have been about 8 phases of training and workshops aimed at capacitating law student practitioners, law deans, law clinic directors, and clinical faculty. Next slide, please. Okay, so in this slide, you can see here the online CLEP training programs that the lab conducted since January 2021. Okay, in simple terms, the Clinical Legal Education Program is a program that will make the law students practice ready after they graduate from law school, and of course after they pass the bar. A traditional form of the CLEP is the establishment of the legal aid clinics. For example, UP at Ateneo Law Schools and San Beda, etc. They have legal aid clinics where yung law students would be able to interview prospect clients, well, who should be indigent or poor clients who have limited access to justice. And then they would be able to, kahit students pa lang, they would be able to like write pleadings and like yung complaint, yung answer, yung appeal memorandum, and even appear before the courts to represent and argue for his or her client against a full-fledged lawyer. But of course, there are conditions and limitations set out in the Law Student Practice Rule. Next slide, please. Student Welfare Development Program. So acting on my proposal, the board approved the establishment of 2 technical working groups, Magna Carta of law students, and second, yung Student Welfare and Development. So these 2 TWGs were tasked to draft proposed LEB memorandum orders on Magna Carta and student welfare. So for the development here is that we have already conducted public consultations this year, and the TWGs submitted their final proposals, which are now under review by our regulatory and then by the board. So hopefully this year talaga ma-release na itong bagong LEBMOS na to for the students. Next slide, please. Okay, yung law librarians naman. The LEB kasi also aims to upgrade the quality of law library services in the country. So we created also a TWG that would develop a law librarian's manual. For this TWG, we just had a public consultation this August, and the TWG will thereafter submit their proposed guidelines or their proposed manual. Next slide, please. Okay, we also have other policies for consideration, such as yung deregulation of law schools, yung development of non-bar graduate programs, and yung undergraduate allied law programs. Next slide, please. Scholarships. Regrettably for scholarships, we are not allowed under our charter, yung RA 7662, to provide scholarships. So what we're doing now is we are in the process of coordinating with Congress to pass a scholarship bill for law students. We are also having talks with other agencies such as Unifast regarding the needed financial aid for law students. Next slide, please. Okay, the next part would be the LEB programs for the youth. Next slide. Actually, as you may have noticed, almost all of the programs I discussed earlier are geared towards the youth talaga. So essentially, this part would just be, a recap na lang or a summary of the programs that I've discussed earlier. The LEB continues to support the ALSP through its conventions. Usually, yung National Consultation of Law Students happens during ALSP's annual national convention. We also do partnerships in conducting mental health webinars. And we also have the forthcoming LEBMO on Magna Carta and student welfare, which, as I mentioned, sana this year malabas siya. Next slide, please. Okay. As mentioned, we have the revised model law curriculum and the clinical legal education program. And this would empower, the law students to become effective law student practitioners and to appropriately prepare them for advocacy, counseling, problem solving. And we also have the LEAP. All projects on policy, knowledge, access, and digitization are student-centered. Next slide, please. I think that's all. Anyway, if you need more information, you may visit our website, leb.gov.ph, or our Facebook page. And if you have questions, you may reach us through email, contact@leb.gov.ph, and our phone numbers. Again, thank you for having us.
There we have it, JMC EduTrends family, the Commissioner of Legal Education Board, or LEB. We have Commissioner Catherine Pedrosa. Thank you so much, Commissioner. Let me just do another quick shout out to our viewers joining us on Facebook and in YouTube. We have 57 million viewers for now. Yep, ang dami kasing nag-send in ng kanilang comments at saka parang ano ba to sila? Nagpapakilala yung iba, yung mga BE-Ed, mostly ABS, HRM. Yeah, we have we have Maria May, Vernes, Lauren, we have sino ba to sila? Basta ang dami. We have Marvin, we have Joshua and the other peeps joining us on YouTube and on Facebook. All right, we will be right back, ladies and gentlemen, after a short break. And when we come back, so that, we can also give time for you to send in your comments or questions or insights. The moment we come back, we'll have our reactors on board. We have invited law students from Jose Maria College of Law, and we shall also entertain your questions post on our social media channels. All right, stand by with us and let us all together watch this.
The world is falling apart. Every day is breaking our heart. But heaven to the world, if we're all lost, what happened to the place we call home? Let's fight the sun's enemy. Let's be one, you and me with unity. No matter what pain, no matter what strife, we can make it through with God on our side. Some sort of battle we can win. Everyone will be beneath his wings. If we work together, make the choices matter. Let's fight with unity. No matter what pain, no matter what strife, we can make it through with God on our side. The far things can get better, to break beliefs and can conquer. Distance and difference don't hinder. Fear not, we're all in this together. The far things can get better, to break beliefs and can conquer. Fear not, we're all in this together. Let's fight, let's fight, let's fight, let's try, let's try, let's try, let's fight, let's fight, let's fight.
Are you looking for the best online education at the most affordable school fees? Enroll now at Jose Maria College. Jose Maria College, under the leadership of its founding president, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, holds true to its mission of providing an assured, consistent, and quality education amidst the ongoing crisis on COVID-19. To ensure that all students will get the best learning experience, JMC provides an assured education with the most flexible learning delivery choices. To highlight the learner's wit and abilities, JMC is consistent in providing the best learning exposures with a student-centered showcase of extracurricular activities. Amidst the challenges of the new normal, JMC guarantees that quality education is not compromised through our learner-centered curriculum, highly trained and dynamic faculties, and state-of-the-art facilities designed to deliver the best learning experience to our students. We are proud to say that JMC is fully equipped for new normal education. What are you waiting for? Enroll now! Scan the QR code on your screen for more details. Your future is our mission. Enroll now!
There we have it. Such a wonderful message from the song. No matter what pain, no matter what strife, we can make it through with God on our side. Wow, ang ganda naman. Yes, and we are back. And as promised, we shall be hearing some of the reactions and questions from our JMC friends. To begin with, I'd like to welcome on board some of the students from our College of Law. We have Ms. Star Lamanan and Mr. John Dondi. There we go. All right. Valbuena to join us in the discussion. And to start off, I'd like to ask the lady, Miss Star Lamanan. Kasi ladies choice daw dapat eh. So, who should begin? Is it Mr. John o ikaw po?
All right, siguro ako na lang because I'm really honored to be hearing directly from the Legal Education Board. No, it's only more than a month pa lang for me. So I've been studying law for like only the past month, and in the past month I could already say na okay, all of the rumors about law school are true. They're not rumors anymore at this stage. I'm actually experiencing things that I was mindful about before entering law school, and the things that kept me from entering law school for like 3 years after I graduated from college. But now, finally, alhamdulillah, I'm here. But I am really, having been through the first month, I think the adjustment stage is really hard. It hits really hard in every individual. And in fact, even in our class, I would hear a lot of also these same sentiments, and even mental health issues, and I'm really just appreciative of being able to hear of the policy-based initiatives being led by the Legal Education Board through, of course, its members, its chairperson, its composition in the board and in its committees. So I'm thankful. Yun lang talaga siguro ang reaction ko. I'm thankful that these initiatives are actually there and they're being initiated, especially with the mental health and wellness program. Like I said, it's a very timely and relevant issue. most especially with law students, and most especially that we are, going through a pandemic. It's a global problem right now. We are in a health crisis. And, our seniors would always say na law school has been more fun now, face to face, because yeah, you have all of these, sufferings inside the class, but then you just go out after class and then eat as, as friends, and, study as like families. And especially that most I think most law students in law in JMC College of Law are working too, because many are taking the 5-year program, weekends programs, just like I am. So and many have their families, their kids, so much going on in their lives. So I'm just really appreciative. That's all I can say. Really appreciative of these programs, yung mental health and wellness. I'm just really curious about the next steps as to how can we integrate or incorporate this, especially in tawag dito, in law student associations within schools, because I think it's going to be very necessary to also lobby that before our student councils. Kasi we know that being part of the officers then in our class, and being class president, actually, I'm also tasked to hear out the concerns of my classmates, ganito, ganyan. And really, as I have mentioned earlier, there are mental health issues amongst the class members. And so, yeah, we are actually, it's something that has been raised to our concern, and it's something that we are trying to also work on how to resolve it. So, hearing this, I just had hope na maybe it would also tawag dito, go down to the Supreme Student Councils of law schools and also be implemented and touch the individual lives, law school lives of the students po. So, di ba, yeah, ang listeners natin ngayon would most probably be college students who are interested in law school. Law school is just beautiful. Yun lang talaga. It's epic. It's beautiful. It's epic. Wag kayong magpadala sa mga sa mga pananakot and rumors. They are true, but then when you enjoy it, it's life changing. I'm telling you, and especially with all of these, all of these efforts being put out by the Legal Education Board, being put out by all associations related to the law school and law school studentry. Yun yung talagang malulook forward din natin when we enter law school in the future. So yeah, I think that's it from me. Thank you so much po, Commissioner, for sharing those efforts po being done by the Legal Education Board. And again, it's an honor to be hearing directly from you po. Thank you very much, and good morning po.
You really are a star, Miss Star, ano? You shed light sa sa mga fears ng iba. They have apprehensions, to begin with upon entering law school. So para ma-break yung ganun ng mga ng mga apprehension. In relation to that, attorney, what makes because Miss Star just said na law school is beautiful, it's life changing. What makes it so for you, attorney? Yes, Commissioner.
Well, for me, it's really, the lofty objectives and goals of law, of the legal profession. Siyempre, they say law talaga is a noble profession. We are really here, mga bata pa tayo. Ano talaga tayo parang idealistic pa. And of course, well, ganun talaga. Para makatulong sa kapwa, yon. As long as you're grounded and you know that you really want to help, kayang-kaya ang law school. Yan.
Ayun. Kaya on that note, Commissioner, gusto ko na rin maging kapwa. Kasi maraming tumutulong. Anyway, yeah, kidding aside, we also have Mr. John Dondi. Ayan, from, also from the College of Law. Sir, your reactions?
Okay, good morning, everyone. So, as for me, I am a medical practitioner, and then I entered law school. So, I've been working as a medical technologist for 5 years before I entered. And then everyone's asking me why law school and not med school. I think it's about perspective, and and still I am actually working as a medical technologist here in the Department of Health, and it's quite challenging on my end to serve. I am serving two masters at the same time, law school and the DOH, and I cannot lose any of them because both of them are equally important to me. And yeah, I am actually thankful that as a medical practitioner that mental health is actually recognized as a part of a um, well-being of the students, especially in this pandemic. And one of the main challenges of this is some people are have different ways of like receiving affirmation, like they need hugs, they need gifts, but that is the challenge in our circumstance right now. um so yeah, as for me, I love seeing my friends, but the pandemic has been really tough, and I cannot see my friends more often. And yeah, as the JMC here in the JMC College of Law, they are actually planning. The SSC is planning on how to reach out to the students, most especially here in a pandemic, to help them and to be able to give um, remedy to their dilemma. As for that, I have a question po for Commissioner. Hello, am I being heard pa ba?
Yes, sir, you are.
Um, if the law school decides to conduct face-to-face attendance for purposes of conducting an examination, is the law school required to file a formal application to the LEB to be granted that authority to conduct face-to-face examination?
Okay. Anyway, my apologies about earlier. Um,
Sure.
sorry about that. Uh, for that, actually, we have a provision on that on the conduct of face to face under Leb MC number 56, if I'm not mistaken. And what our policy on that is, we would follow what the policies of the local government units. We have no control kasi over yung IATF guidelines and restrictions nila as regards yung face to face. So our policy on that is to follow the guidelines of the local government units. If the local government units would allow yung face to face na, then of course the leb would respect that.
Thank you, ma'am, for that answer. To those students who have second thoughts of entering law school, you should take a shot. Kasi as for my experience, I never had any idea of how law is like. So I just entered law school for the sake of entering. Like, okay, let's try. But look at me now. I'm on my second year here in law school. It's definitely tough considering the nature, all the readings and all. But at the end of the day, you can say that it's gonna be worth it one day. Thank you.
Ayan. All right. Let's try to see if we have a couple of questions sent to us on our social media channels. But if there is none, we can have more questions if you have um yeah from Mr. But before that, just one ano yun, comment from from Emmanuel. We have ano yung sabi niya ulit? Yeah, very interesting discussions will proceed to law school after my BSSW. Wow, parang alam ko yung pattern yan, Emmanuel. I think you are, you take after somebody whom we both know. Okay, sa atin na lang yun. Anyway, okay. Commissioner, alam mo ba yung ano yung craze masyado ngayon sa TikTok, yung Give Me Hope Joanna?
As I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar.
Okay, just
Hindi
just
ako
orient
nag-TikTok.
with ay parang alam ni Miss Taro.
What?
It's kung kilala mo yun si Dr. Kilimanjaro, I think kilala ni Sir Jan Don di kasi sa taga DOH siya. It's it's what they use na if ever may itatanong sa kanila and they don't want to answer. I don't know kung may answer ba talaga yun o wala or just for the sake of just doing TikTok na sayaw-sayaw lang. Halimbawa at commissioner may tanong tapos they don't want to answer or they simply just want to answer that through dancing. Pero I don't know kung ako lang ba yung parang, kasi bago lang ako sa TikTok and I was like, I had a culture shock. Sabi ko, may tanong tapos sinasayaw. Hindi ko mag-gets ano ba, if it's a body language or so. Pero, Commissioner, on that note, ano ba yung ano siguro yung, ano bang sabihin natin? Ano ba yung question pertaining to LEB that you don't want to answer straightforward from your own perspective or your opinion na gusto mo na lang isayaw? If there is any question na parang you don't want to answer, what would it be?
Mm, I'm not sure, pero maybe questions that are not related to that are not within our jurisdiction. Yung mga questions na gano'n. Kasi pag govern siya ng another government body, mahirap magsalita on those questions. Mahirap kunin yung, to overstep on their jurisdiction. So siguro yun, quiet na lang.
Yes, yeah, and there are things that may mga parameters na okay, hanggang dito lang tayo, may mga boundaries. And I think in relation to that, may si Miss Star right kanina. Could you like ask that again for the benefit of the crowd?
Yeah, I think I did understand it as, it's something din kasi, no, the way commissioner answered it kanina is really manifests what tawag dito, what was taught to us in law school because to stick to your jurisdiction. So yes, siguro it was kasi my question earlier before we started with the live session was regarding an issue on the take of the Legal Education Board as a board, tawag dito, as to the personal opinions of its members. And yun, kanina nga si Commissioner answered na they respect the jurisdiction of if it's under Supreme Court, if it's under the Supreme Court and it's under SC, it's their jurisdiction. So, ayun, siguro it's also necessary to point out at this stage talaga, no, that in law school, it's one of the it's one of the biggest highlights of being a law student, knowing yun siguro, knowing boundaries, knowing limitations, knowing ayun, especially for a first year like me, wouldn't really know that, but yeah, at least I learned a lesson, another one even before we started this live session po.
Ay, thank you so much, Miss Star. Commissioner, napansin ko lang kasi parang diba, parang beauty queen worthy ka masyado eh. So gusto ko
Yes.
i-revise yung tanong ni Kuya Boy. Yes, Commissioner, when is it okay to sound legal and when is it not okay to sound legal? So, parang ganun na tanungan. Napaisip bigla si
Law
Commissioner.
school? You mean in law school during recitations?
Pwede siguro in the classroom or in the class.
Oh, okay. If you're in law school in a class setting, you have to sound legal because of course you have to impress your professor. Syempre, mamaya ibagsak ka sa recit, di ba? But when you're talking to people, ordinary people, of course you should not sound legal because really our purpose is to connect them to the law, for them to be able to understand the law in their own language. So in that case, you shouldn't really sound legal. Dapat talaga magtagalog ka or yung sariling vernacular ninyo para mas maintindihan talaga ng kausap mo yung gusto mong sabihin na legal advice. Lalo na in the clinical legal education program, ganun talaga. There are programs where where you have to go to communities, and in reaching out to these people when they want to know their rights, you have to really explain it as in sobrang simple terms para maintindihan nila.
I so agree. Kasi nga baka iba yung iba yung jargons. Of course, hindi maintindihan ng commoners, ng law, anong tawag yun, ng mga layman. Iba yung lawman at saka layman. So magkaiba. So dapat we have to, to really vary our siguro diction, the choice of words. They have to be very simple and understandable. At saka ito, Commissioner, kasi in one way or another, through the movie kasi na Bar Boys, parang na-embrace ko rin yung culture ng ng law school. Parang I had a bird's eye view kung ano yung what's in the law school. So I just want to hear from you, what are some of the lessons that you have learned from that movie?
Well, from that movie, you can see the Socratic method, no? Yung parang terror. Yun nga, like I mentioned earlier, some are, hesitant to enter law school because of this Socratic method. Kaya, ayon, I mentioned earlier na in the revised curriculum, we are actually encouraging law schools to adopt other progressive teaching methodologies. Kasi we are really very concerned about the well-being of the students. Hindi naman yung Socratic method, we believe na it's not the only way for the law students to learn law. There are other ways for them to learn law. Kasi yun, medyo pasay na siya eh. Although we are not discounting the Socratic method because it's still effective. Kasi 'di ba, through the Socratic method, talagang yung law students, magpupursige talaga siya. But we don't want it to be the only teaching method. We want law schools to adopt other progressive teaching methods.
Yeah, ayun. So yung yung parang the traditional na pananaw sa teaching approach sa law school. Tama ngayon attorney. And then yeah, from Sir John naman this time. Kasi there's one word. Teka lang, kasi you are from DOH. And
Yes, sir.
technology.
Madam, nag-send daw sa
Curious lang kasi ako.
final na
Sir,
via
sir ha,
email.
pwede mong hindi ito sagutin. Pwede rin sagutin. Kasi you're into
Sige
sa
daw, pato daw
medicine.
after my final lesson.
Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng letter B? Hindi ko na sasabihin talaga yung word.
Thank you.
Pero ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng letter B doon sa movie na Bar Boys?
B? I actually did not watch the film, sir.
Ay, hindi.
Judge me na lang.
Okay.
Judge me na lang. I think I'm the only law student who have not watched that film.
Okay. Ganito na lang. It's for the viewers out. Ano yung letter B? And it ends with letter K. Kasi di ba, Commissioner, medyo off siya sabihin. Pero siguro among the medical practitioners, parang it's just a common thing for them to say it. Kasi yung word na yun na learn ko na dun sa Bar Boys. Okay. Basta letter B at saka letter K ang ending. Okay. So you better watch it, Sir John. All right. Sige. Well, yep, we have questions daw. Shall we flash it on the screen? Ayan. First up, sent to us po ito ng some of our fans. Una, what are the current programs of LEB to support mental health of students, especially during the current conditions? Commissioner, your take?
Yeah, okay. Actually, just I think last month or last month, we partnered with the Association of Law Students of the Philippines to conduct, yung mental health webinars. Last year, actually, then meron din kaming first mental health webinar that we conducted, and this webinar, the recording of this webinar was shared to the ALSP, and we said that they can share it to the law student governments of all law schools. And in these webinars talaga, we invited experts who could help, law students who are dealing with mental health issues. And I think you can reach out to your law student governments, no, to have access to these webinars. These are very important. Second, the lab is actually really a policy making body. In the policies that we are issuing, we always have in mind the wellness of the students. For example, itong bagong law curriculum, dito we really reduced the number of units. Dati 168, diba? Sobrang heavy. But in the new curriculum, 135 na lang. That's a huge reduction in units and a huge reduction in the burden of law students. And then we have also third, we have, yung sinabi ko kaninang upcoming na LEB memorandum order on, either Magna Carta of law students or yung student development and welfare. Medyo pinaplansya lang namin siya as of now. We've already conducted public consultations about it. May comments na yung law schools. Syempre, we have to balance the interest of the law school, diba? And the students then. Kasi it might be an added cost to the law school. And that cost would be, cascaded to the students. So we have to create that balance. And so now, we're currently studying talaga yung proposed LEBMO on student welfare, which I hope the board would be able to release or approve within this year.
All right. We have seminars.
In addition to that, sir,
Yes.
po, here in JMC, the SSC is really planning to hold like mental health talks, and we are actually organizing a kumustahan with our dean and assistant dean to rightfully assess the needs of our student and where we could intervene in order for the situation to be somehow better in a way. So yeah, so let's wait for further announcements regarding that. But rest assured, we are planning on pushing through that program. Thank you.
All right. So our pattern would be from me to Commissioner to John to Sir John and to now Miss Star. In relation to the previous question, was there a time when you had a mental challenge, and how did you combat dun sa struggle na yun?
I am having it now. Yeah, I am having it now because I have to. There's just a lot to juggle, man, good in life, and many of my classmates, many of first year students and the law students in general could resonate with this one, especially nga that I have mentioned earlier. Many of us are working, many of us have families, have kids. Generally many things happening in life. So siguro it's just hard to juggle those things. But it's normal. It's completely normal. I bounce back by by thinking that it's really normal, and siguro kasi law school I think becomes less harsh. I don't know if this is too early to say it at this point, but law school is less harsh when you try to really enjoy it. Enjoy reading, enjoy studying, enjoy being roasted by your professors. So that's how we cope up as a class, no? In our class, talagang merong professors na magro-roast at maraming students na maro-roast each of our sessions, but we just try to laugh it off and bounce back because you fail like that, or you embarrass yourself like that, but then you make bawi the next time. That's just how it is in law school. So being in law school, you just have that kind of attitude and mentality just has to be inherent, and siguro maybe for many people there are many na tawag dito, they are less siguro tolerant about these kinds of challenges in their lives. That's why there are mental health issues. But of course, we are, as a class, siguro yun yung ko dun i-emphasize ko the value of, being friends, not just classmates, but also being there for each other. It really helps a lot. So yeah, and we try as much as possible to also address the issues of our classmates who are for example, one of our classmates right now, talagang being tested if COVID positive or not. So talagang malaking challenge and we're having an exam tomorrow. So 'di ba? How are we supposed to parang expect that she can study, she can do well in the exams, pero yun talagang we do everything to support her. Just as, everyone else is doing their best to also support me and be there for me even virtually. So ayun lang. That's how we cope up
Oh,
with these
I
kinds of
really
issues.
like the attitude, yeah, just laugh it up, just shake it off, just be in the
Yeah.
moment. We can do this all
So,
together. Grabe ang galing. Right. Yep, I think we still have more. Shout out pala sa ating technical director working in the background. I think reality naman regardless of the profession that you have, even the time being, right now, we're having a discussion, and then there are a lot of things working in the background, like the chicken, the dog, and all that. Yeah, but yeah, the show must go on. All right, the second question is Leb, considering to require law professors to have units in principles of teaching. Oh, why not? Commissioner?
For this question, actually, it's Lebmo number two that I think Lebmo number two, which has provisions on faculty qualifications. No, and Lebmo number two is also under. I just didn't mention earlier kasi medyo madami na, medyo madami na. But it's also under review talaga. So all these policies are under review, and medyo madami lang yung Lebmo number 2 kaya hindi pa siya tapos, but we are considering all these suggestions, no, kasi if it's for the upliftment of the legal education standards, then of course these suggestions are very much welcome, and we are really also considering them.
Ayun. And yeah, on that note, sa principles of teaching, there's one lesson because I graduated with an education baccalaureate degree, and there's really one lesson that I can forever remember. Yun yung tinatawag namin na ano ba yun? Sometimes learning is a painful process. I think it best applies to law school. Kasi ano ba yun? It's not always about rainbows and butterflies in especially in the school of life in general, not just in law school. That's one thing. I know sometimes learning is a painful process. Sir John, what do you think? Para sa inyo, ano ba yung parang principle ng learning? Kasi yung principle of learning is also, has something to do with principles of teaching. Para sa how do you learn ba, or how do you view learning?
Um, in Yeah, I had difficulty in adjusting from a medical standpoint to a legal standpoint because, in a medical point of view, like if you can get grasp the gist of the discussion, like you could discuss it in your own words. But when it comes to like legal concepts, you really have to cite the exact provisions of law and case laws, the rulings of the Supreme Court. And yeah, for me, the principle of learning for me in law school for students is read and read and read until you cannot read. That's what I am trying to adapt because it sobrang daming readings, like you have your annotated book, you have your cases, and all of those will possibly like all of your professors kasi all of our professors have a way of surprising you when it comes to the exam. It's either cases lahat, it's either provisions lahat, and a mixture of both. And oh my God, you cannot really fathom. You cannot really think of ano kaya maglabas na exam sa exam. Like, yeah, they exams in law school come in different surprises. It's either good thing or a bad thing, and there's no in
Oh.
betweens.
Parang Pandora's box lang ano, it has a lot of surprises. And yeah, I think with that experience you also get to learn new things. You also get to unlearn um past and shall we say obsolete lessons, and to also relearn some concepts that you might have had in the past, in your baccalaureate degree, in your pre-law course. Miss Star, ano ba yung ano, what's at least one thing that you recently learned that you thought differently in the past?
I think I just got how important sleep is in law school, because yeah, I mean, I would totally agree. Now I'm actually just petrified thinking about my first exam tomorrow for PFR after what Sir John said. But yeah, I think law school taught me more about the value of sleep. And because we're studying to, how do we say this, we're studying to enforce the rights of, and be able to help enforce the rights of other people as a moral responsibility, not just as a profession. But I think one of the most important tawag dito, one of the most important values that we could learn is to also give ourself our rights, especially our rights to the rights of our body in general. For us to be able to to do our responsibility as lawyers in the future, God willing. Of course we have to give what our body needs emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically. So yeah, I think it's a very simple value that it's already supposedly from the very beginning considered. But I think so many of us tawag dito, have a lot of things to juggle and all that, we forget to give importance to this most basic right of ourselves, which is, yeah, just giving ourselves a little rest and all that to be able to perform better in the future. So yun siguro. My principle of learning is to give yourself the time that it needs to rest. Yun siguro.
Yeah, and all I can say is so ordered. Yeah, it's really true. It's good to think that once in a while you pause for a break, and then you just turn on the radio or your Spotify playlist, and just just be in the moment, as I said. All right. Yeah, my apology. I have like extended so much time because I really love, talking to law students as you are. Kasi grabe, parang ano eh, parang I feel like I'm in a table topic discussion, and then everybody just answer in just a spur of a time. Grabe, ang galing nyo guys. Let me just say that. Let me just put that on record. Right, this is being recorded, by the way, for future references. Yeah. Once again, thank you so much, Commissioner. Technical Director Marian. Do we still have more? Grabe, ang galing nyo ha. Grabe. We have Sir John and Miss Star. Thank you so much for being in the show. Do we still have more questions from the crowd? Eto. Yeah. Is it normal in law school that instructors I'm sorry. Is it normal in law school that instructors should be always stern? Sige. Anybody would like to answer that? I don't think so. With what I can see, what I can, feel from you guys. But yeah, para ano lang. Let's start from the bottom this time. Yeah, Miss Star, your take.
I think not necessarily. In fact, siguro there are kasi advantages and disadvantages to both. The more tolerant way of teaching and the more stern way of teaching. As long as you enjoy both, that's the most important thing there. But the advantages to both is that in this stern way of teaching, you get to really pressure yourself. You have to apply a little bit of pressure to yourself. So many of us kasi don't many of us can work under pressure because we can work under pressure because we do not work without pressure. So we have to put a little pressure on ourselves, and that can only be hindi naman can only be, but that can be done through the stern. That's one of the advantages of the stern way of teaching. But then of course there are also professors like our tawag dito, persons and family relations na professor. She's very motherly like, very salungat doon sa usual na tawag dito image of a law professor na very iro-roast ka and everything. And we also enjoy learning because we feel like we're really being taught as a blank slate that just entered law school. So we are being educated by our mother. We feel the love, not just the professional judge teaching us in class, but also a mother wanting to educate us that this is why you really want to become attorneys. This is what you do when you're attorneys. This is what you have to learn when you're attorneys. So yun siguro, there are advantages and disadvantages to both. I think hindi rin siya effective kung talagang walang pressure. Yun lang talaga ang masasabi ko.
Yun lang. What about from you, Sir John?
Let me share to you my experience during my first recitation experience in law school. So I can still remember that I have read my case, all of those cases under the specific topic thrice. Thrice. So what the teacher does is like he calls for a random person to recite specific cases. So when I got called, oh my god, I think I just had a transient amnesia because all of my readings got wiped out. Like I can't remember a word, even the title of the case. So I just got, oh my god, I can. Yeah. So it's really that pressure, not just on the teacher side, but on yourself as well. Because this is law school. And I think that is a common misconception for all the people that teachers in law school are like harsh. Um, some are show care to you, like some are lenient, some are like a bit stern, not stern, a bit stern, because that push will you will really need that push to further your readings, because as based on my personal experience, not being a hypocrite here, if a teacher is lenient, so like chill, so at the end of the day, you're gonna have so many backlogs. Like, oh my god, ang dami kong babasahin at the end of the day. But when the teacher is like a bit strict, a bit stern, you can accomplish that reading in an hour before his class, because you do not want to be roasted. Because in law school, there are two kinds of roast. The roast for those who read well, because the teacher will really gauge on how far you've read, and the roast for those who did not prepare for the class. So you will be on the hot seat for 30 minutes straight, and yeah, so that's not gonna look good either way. So yeah, I think for this is just a personal opinion. Stern, those teachers that are really put on their pressure, that really put pressure on their students, are more effective. Just for me. Thank you.
All right. And finally, Commissioner, what's your take
Yeah.
on teachers being stern in the law school?
Well, before I answer that question, I would just like to say that the law professors actually have the academic freedom, no, in teaching law.
Yes.
Yeah, matang mo sila. It is within their discretion how they would teach law. Kung gusto nilang maging stern or hindi maging stern, it's within their academic freedom. Now, the question na lang is if the exercise of their academic freedom is reasonable. Yun na lang yun. So kung hindi siya reasonable, then I would say na dapat hindi siya maging masyadong stern. But anyway, that's relative. And actually, I'd like to interpret the question in two ways. Parang what is normally happening and what should be happening. Should they be stern or not? Yung what is, I think the culture as of now, most are still stern. It's still considered normal. Yung marami pa rin talagang mga law students na nagsasabi, based on our surveys, na marami pa rin talagang yung teaching method is Socratic and marami pa rin talagang terrors. So, well, in fact, yes, it's kind of normal. Presently, it's kind of normal. That's what's really happening on the ground. Maraming stern professors. Although, I would say na may, like, I share the opinion of Star. There are advantages and disadvantages. Pati sinabi din to ni John na may advantages talaga and disadvantages. And I just like to share na pag mag-bar na kayo, mag-bar review na kayo, pasasalamatan nyo yung mga profs na stern.
Oo nga.
Kasi maaalala nyo talaga eh, sa kanila kayo matututo. Basta wag lang sobra, kasi, well, lahat naman ng sobra, di ba? Masama. So, yun. And what should be, I think the professor should find that right balance. They should be stern at times, but if nakikita nila na yung estudyante sobrang hirap na, syempre, dapat bigyan naman, luwagan naman nila minsan. Yun. I think there are professors who are really like that then. They gauge kung yung student, depende sa student din, kung medyo hirap na talaga yung student and nagpa-panic attack na, magsa-stern ka pa ba? Syempre, dapat you should take a step back. Yan.
Ayun. And yeah, sige, as a perspective ko naman, because I cannot yet in any way relate to your experiences, guys. But siguro in the perspective of an educator, kasi noon ako I taught kids, second and third graders. I had multiple subjects. I had English, I had MAPE, I had computer subjects. I shift my personality from one subject to another, simply because the how do I say it? The subject calls for it. For instance, if I teach, pag yung sabi ni commissioner na academic freedom, tama nga yun, ano. If I teach kasi a language, for me I have to be, kasi pag language purist ako eh. What's ideal should really be ideal. What should be taught ideally dapat ganun talaga. Okay? So ganun ako. If it's a language class, but if it's a computer class, I am the supporter. I am a friend. So my second and third graders be like, teacher, kanina ang parang strict ka doon, tas dito parang where like you're like my friend, because sometimes kasi pag in teaching computer, 'di ba, minsan dapat kailangan facilitative ka, ay naalayan mo sila, they don't know where to press what and when, mga ganun. So I think na on that note, we have to just understand that teachers sometimes just have roles to play. I mean, for the sake of practicing their profession. Kasi ako, napansin ko rin noon during practicum days, bakit ito siya napaka-strict sa classroom, but when we are together, when we go outside, during break time or lunchtime, bakit parang ang saya niya, ang lakas tumawa. So I was like, yeah, it's just academic freedom after all. And 'di ba, you will thank them later kasi nga, 'di ba, with the if the pressure is on, grabe, 'di ba, ang bilis niyong maka-memorize. I think pag siguro sa mga talaga, mga highly technical at major subjects sa law, siguro dapat ganun ang professor. And after all, hindi naman ginusto ng professor na maging ganun talaga yung pananaw niyo sa kanila, 'di ba? Oh. Char, malapit na palang Teachers Day, guys. Naisingit lang. And yes, we still have one question kasi may nag-comment. Shall we? All right, Commissioner Kath, during your law school days, how do you cope with stress in law school? That's one. Another, in reducing the number of units to take up in law school, would there be any disadvantages for the students in general, and somehow would it affect the standpoint of taking the bar exam? Yes.
Okay. For the first question, for me, like I mentioned also this earlier, and Star also mentioned this earlier. For me, sleep is non-negotiable. In my case, kayo, tansyahin nyo, in my case, 4 hours of sleep is okay na for me. Kasi I've read this book, I'm not promoting the author, hindi ko na lang sasabihin. Pero there's this book about why we sleep. And in this book, it discusses really the importance of sleep. It has a relation, your sleep has a relation to your learning, to your memory. It also has a relation to your emotional processing, the emotional processing of your brain. Third, it also has a relation to your immune system. Fourth, it has a relation to your energy levels. Fifth, to your heart. So, isipin nyo, kung kulang kayo ng sleep, paano na yung memory nyo? Paano na kayo makakapag-aral, di ba? Second, ano may sabi ko, emotional. Emotional healing. It has a relation to your emotional healing. So, kung kulang yung sleep nyo, stress nga kayo, 'di ba, sa law school, mas lalong na maapektahan yung pag-process ng emotional part ng brain niyo. Mas lalo kayong made-depress, mas lalo kayong, magkakaroon ng anxiety attacks. So it's really important that your emotional part of the brain heals while you sleep. Third, ano na ba sabi ko? Immune system. 'Di ba? Kung magkasakit kayo, kulang yung sleep nyo, mababa yung levels of your immune system. So, paano kayo makakapag-aral? 'Di ba? Madami kayong magiging backlog. Third, yung energy level. Of course, you need energy to study as well. And then lastly, yung heart nyo. Dapat hindi mahina yung heart nyo. When you pursue, well, when you pursue your client's cause, dapat valor talaga, 'di ba? Dapat courageous kayo and dapat hindi mahina yung heart nyo. So, I cannot emphasize the importance of sleep. And then second, what I do is I do yoga. Kahit at the start of the day, that's what I do. Kasi if you start your day right, I think the rest of your day would be all right then. And yoga helps you in focusing. Kasi breathing din yan and exercise din yan. So that's what I do. I do yoga first thing in the morning. Others, they do mindfulness. Kaya lang ako medyo, yung mind ko, marami akong iniisip. So medyo hindi, sa akin yung mindfulness. Although I could focus when I do yoga. So, kanya-kanya lang yan. Find your strategy on how you could cope with stress. And lastly, I jog. I jog or I walk, I exercise. Kasi maraming readings yan, di ba, na when you exercise, you release itong happy hormones, itong mga endorphins, or kung anong mga hormones na yan. Basta, and when you exercise, you actually boost your energy levels. So, magkakaroon ka ng more energy, more time to study. And yun, it also helps in your emotional well-being. So that's the 3 things that I do. 4 hours of sleep is non-negotiable for me, and then yoga and exercise. Okay. Second question, in reducing the number of units to take up law, would there be any disadvantages for the students in general? And somehow, would it affect the standpoint of taking the bar exam? There might be disadvantages in the sense na compressed yung subjects. So in that sense, kailangan talaga double time ang student. Mas maraming time dapat siyang to prepare. Pero that's the purpose din We are encouraging yung reflective learning. Dapat yung student, mas madadigest niya yung law kung talagang mapag-iisipan niya yung batas, kung talagang mananamnam niya kung ano yung spirit of the law, not just the letter of the law. So I think the advantages, outweigh the disadvantages. And from the standpoint naman of taking the bar, I don't think na it would affect yung preparation mo for the bar. Kasi yung 4th year, we still retained yung 4th year subjects, yung review subjects. So at that time, during your 1st year to 3rd year, practice ready yung approach ng bagong law curriculum. Pero sa 4th year, you have time naman to, pass the bar, to review and really prepare for the bar. So I don't think the new curriculum would affect naman your preparations for the bar.
All right. As that question is addressed to Commissioner, let's just second on that. All right. I think that's fair and square. All right. We still have one more. Gusto ko lang masay because I share the same question with Emmanuel. Shall we flash it on screen, Mar? The question is, what book or books would you recommend for a person who's planning to take law? Or ano
Oh,
ba yung
okay.
parang, ano, yes, yes po, Commissioner.
Oo. Um, ano ba 'to, like, books to use during law school or prior pa 'no, kasi planning pa lang. Planning pa lang yung review books ba yung tanong niya? Hindi ko sure ha, hindi ko sure. Ano ba yung tanong niya? Um,
Ganito na lang, at Commissioner, para ako na lang mag-ano ha, books prior daw.
prior.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm,
Baka books on ano, baka books na pang motivate para magpasok ka sa law school. Is there any?
oh,
Pero
I'm
ano
not
daw,
sure 'no.
okay, siguro technical na ano, technical books na prior to entering law school.
For me, siguro, hindi I'm not I'm not I'm not familiar with any books no na puwedeng aralin prior law school, except for, the caudals if you really want to study in advance, yung pinaka magandang bilhin talaga is yung caudals. At least may head start ka na, nabasa mo na yung batas. Pero, to prepare for law school, I'm not familiar if there are books for that. But instead of books siguro, since hindi ako familiar kung may books na para makapag-prepare ka to take up law, what I would suggest is, because you need to prepare, you need to also to prepare yourself before you embark on your law school journey. Kailangan 100% ka, all in ka, dyan talaga kung gusto mo talaga mag-law school. So, do your research, do your own preparation, like research for the school that you think would really help you become a lawyer, and then do some research then dun sa field of law na gusto mo na, para when you study the law, madali mo na siyang ma-apply sa gusto mong specialization. And then ako actually, I would suggest maganda if you have a work experience. If you have work experience before going to law school, siguro mga 2 years work experience, you would appreciate really the law. You would understand the law better if you have prior work experience, 'di ba? Kasi for example, yung labor law, marami ka talagang marami ka talagang ma-apply from your work experience. Yung tax din, syempre kakaltasan ka ng tax, 'di ba? So at least may background ka na, may konting alam ka na about the law. So work experience also helps.
Ayun, tama. So aside from the ano, aside from the knowledge, you also have the ano, the feeling na.
Oo,
Of
the
ano,
maturity, yun, you have the maturity na din.
yep, yung feeling na pinapatawan ka ng tax, na medyo masakit pala siya konti, yung mga gano'n na mga ano. So hindi lang siya mental preparation, but at the same time, emotional readiness. Yep, yun na, Emmanuel, I hope we were able to answer your question. Nag-suggest pa siya ng book, The Paper Chase by John J. Osborne. Oh, hindi ko alam yun.
Parang this is a movie din yata, no? Parang may moving ganito, tama ba?
Oh, talaga. 'Di ba? Alam mo, gustong-gusto ko talaga 'to si Eman, eh. Nagtatanong siya and he also provides answer. So ito yung sabi niya. 3 books you should read before starting law school. Navigating your 1L year. Ano yun, first law year. The Legal Analyst Toolkit for Thinking About the Law, Preparing for the Law School Experience. You may have seen this book on law school supplies list. Bracing yourself for exams kasi I'm reading this. Wow, ayun. May pinaglalaban si Evan, eh. Ay, may mga nai-suggest na siya. Alam mo, ito yung gusto ko na student sa klase, yung alam mo, yung may tanong sila kasi sometimes we ask questions for the benefit of others na rin, so that they also get to know what we have in mind. Although we know the answers beforehand, pero yeah. Okay. So much for that. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, and to the rest of our JMC EduTrends family. Now, before we end, here's a challenge for you, Commissioner, and to the rest sabi ko sa'yo maglolo ako. Oo nga. Sa JMC ako maglolo. Okay. All right. Naisingit lang yung advertisement. Okay. Here's a challenge for Commissioner and to our two student reactors for today. I'll be reciting first, and then you just continue. The sequence or order would be from me, and then to Commissioner, then to John, and then to Star. All right, fill in the blank. You just have to continue. Here's the 1987 Constitution, the preamble. We, the sovereign Filipino people, imploring the aid of Almighty God. Go, Commissioner.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. First year.
Just
That
give it a
was
try.
like, that was like, ano ba? That's like, ano tawag dito? 5 years ago? Parang,
Parang
I'm
review,
really
parang
so
review lang.
sorry. Nakalimutan ko na talaga siya.
Sige lang, it's okay, it's okay. Sige, pwede tayo mag-Google, guys. Para ano, para alam naman nung iba, nung, di ba, di ba si Emmanuel, sabi niyo, nakaka-pressure naman. Sige, ulitin ko. Dapat mag-Google na kayo. Start at zero. Sige, we the
Mabagal pa naman
sovereign
yung internet ko.
imploring the aid of Almighty God in order to build a just and humane. Sige, fill in the blank na lang. One word, attorney. Humane what?
Yan yung mga first year kasi dapat tanda pa talaga nila yan.
Oh, sige. U and A, society. B, community. Is it humane society or humane community?
Parang society yata.
Wow, very good.
Hindi
Okay,
na,
sir.
hindi ganang pakinggan ang community.
Oo nga, no? Sige, Sir John, and establish a government that shall embody our ideals and blank. Nakamute ka pa. Baka sabihin ni Sir nung ano kanina ba? Hindi, nakamute talaga si Sir eh. Si Miss Star na lang muna.
And
Embody our...
aspirations, promote the
Ayun.
common good, conserve and develop our patrimony.
Ayun, very good. Okay, last na lang talaga. And secure to ourselves
Hello?
and our posterity the blessings of blank.
I-reply ko ito na hindi na. Message mo good siya.
Is that me? Or
Yes,
May...
Miss Star.
Ay, okay.
The
oh sorry.
blessings of...
Nakita na ko na nasa
Democracy
And
and
letter I.
independence
Okay, very
and
good.
democracy.
Okay, Marian, pakibigyan nga sa akin yung index card. Hindi, joke lang. Alright, once again, thank you so much, Commissioner Rino. I really had fun. Grabe. Such a pleasure and honor to have you guys on board. Thank you so much for gracing our invitation on behalf of our founding president, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, to our school administrator. Sabihin ko lang talaga because without them, this show would not be possible. To our school administrator, we have Ma'am Rosemary Di Magnaong and the whole JMC family. I am so sure, I am so certain that we have learned a lot from this timely discussion. And at this point in time, to formally express our institutional gratitude to you, Commissioner, may I present to you our certificate of appreciation on the screen. And let me read the citation. Here we go. St. Maria College, Philippine-Japan Friendship Highway, sa Davao City. Certificate of appreciation is awarded to Attorney Catherine Pedrosa, a certified public accountant, the Commissioner of the Legal Education Board, or LEB, for her selfless service in sharing her knowledge and expertise as our highly esteemed resource speaker in the webinar entitled Governance of the Youth Sector during the JMC EduTrends live stream program given this 26th day of August 2021 at the St. Maria College, Philippine-Japan Friendship Highway, Sasa, Davao City, Philippines, signed by our school president, Dr. Felix C. Chavez. A round of applause, please, to our guest speaker. Ayan. Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Thank you.
We
Thank you
are more
once
than
again.
grateful to have you in the show.
Yeah,
And
thank
yep,
My pleasure.
ayan. This has been JMC EduTrends, produced by St. Maria College. of Training and Development in partnership with Communications Office. Please do find and follow us on Facebook and YouTube for more updates. This is your host, Lord Vincent Von Mendoza. Together with me are our student reactors joining us today. We have Sir John and Miss Star. Grabe, napakatuwang, napaka-fluent na ano, ng mga individuals. And yeah, see you in our next episode. We'd like to say thank you to our technical director who's in the background. Shout to Marian, Miss Marian Ambrosio. Thank you so much for being in the show. Keep safe, everybody. God bless. Goodbye. And see you in our next episode. Bye.